another kids yoga story with Leanne. I am Leanne from DragonBunny books. Some people call me Bunny, but for today's yoga story, you can just call me Leanne, and I hope that you're ready for some yoga with a story. So as always, I'm going to invite you to find a comfortable spot wherever you are. Maybe you can find a spot in your room. And just get comfy. Come on down to the floor, take off your shoes and your socks and ground yourself and come into a seated position and sit up tall and just notice how you feel and notice what's going on in and around you right now. But most importantly, what's going on inside of your body today. So take a moment to tune in. Maybe put one hand on your heart and one hand on your belly so that you can feel into your breath and your body, and just breathe in through your nose, filling your body with air, and breathe out through your mouth. Great way to ground and to start our yoga story today. Warming up our bodies a little bit, let's come onto our hands and knees for some cat and some cow. All right, so when you come onto your hands and knees, feel the parts of your hands that are touching your floor, your mat, or your blanket, and feel the parts of your feet that are touching your hands or your blanket, and breathe in and look up. And open your chest and breathe out and scoop your belly up. And nod your head yes and shake your head no. Do it again. Big breath in, look up. Long breath out, squeeze it up. And then from here, we're going to tuck our toes under and lift our knees up and be a hovering table for the count of 3, my yoga friends. 1, 2, 3, and come on down. Excellent. Coming back to the front, give yourself a big hug. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Smile. Are you ready for yoga? With a story? Let's get into our story today now that we're warmed up a little bit. So this is a story. You may have noticed that today I have a pigeon and today I have a pirate hat. So our story is about the story of 2 pigeons. One of them is named Polly and one of them is named Pete. Pete and Polly the pigeons. So there was once a pigeon. Her name was Polly. She's the first pigeon that we're going to meet in our yoga story today. Oh, Shane, do you want to see Polly? Oh, you're wagging your tail. You never met her before, did you? Hello. Hello. Yeah, and Polly lived at the top of a very tall apartment building. So let's stand up and be a very tall apartment building together. So when you're here in your apartment building pose, I want you to ground down from your feet. It's a bit like mountain pose, but we're going to be in apartment instead. So feel the strength of that apartment growing taller, taller, and taller, and your head reaching up as high as it can go. And open up your hands to the side and breathe in here. Open up your chest. Be a strong apartment building and imagine yourself in the middle of a great big city with many other apartment buildings, maybe with the sounds of horns honking and trains training and airplanes airplaning and people all around you. But on the top of this particular apartment building lived a very, very pretty pigeon named Polly. So come on back down. So Polly lived in a nest. So we're going to come into nest pose. Let's see. So you can, it's sort of like boat pose. You've done it before. So you're balancing, but instead of being like up like this, you're going to be kind of round like a nest. So you get to really curl your chest in like this. So Polly lived in a nest. Make yourself kind of like round and feel yourself. It was a very pretty nest. And she built it really just right with all the right things, sticks and feathers and leaves and even bits of garbage. So you can imagine yourself in a city at the top of an apartment building in a very pretty nest that was just perfect for a pigeon named Polly. So let's come into pigeon pose. Onto your hands and knees. Take a deep breath in and breathe out. Now lift one leg up when you breathe in And when you breathe out, bring that leg in front of you and bring the other leg behind you. And here you are in a nice pigeon pose. So Polly the pigeon lived for many years at the top of the apartment building in her nice, neat nest. She lived there without incident. Breathe in and come down onto your elbows, see if that's comfortable. Until one day, something different happened. Let's switch legs. Breathe in, breathe out. Other knee comes up, breathe in, and breathe out and bring it in front of you and tuck the other leg behind. Pigeon pose might feel different on this leg, so just feel into your body. Whatever is happening is just okay. And if it hurts, of course, please don't hurt yourself or push it past a point that hurts, but see if you can find balance and ease in your body, and of course, most importantly, your breath. So breathe in and breathe out. And come onto your elbows if that feels comfortable. So she was living there, nothing was a problem, everything was going swimmingly until another pigeon moved in. Now, she'd never had a neighbor before. She didn't know what to think. And this was not an ordinary pigeon, my friends. This was a pigeon named Pete, who was actually a pirate. He wore a pirate hat, he had a patch, and he had a peg leg. Let's stand up again and see what happens when we become Pete the pirate. Pete the pirate moved in to the top of that apartment building, back into your apartment, nice and tall and strong. Now imagine yourself with a second pigeon on your rooftop. But it wasn't an ordinary pigeon, it was a pirate pigeon who had one leg, was a peg leg. So take a nice stretch, a quadricep stretch, and imagine yourself being Pete, the one-legged pirate pigeon, and breathe. And switch legs. Not only was he a one-legged pirate pigeon, but he also wore an eye patch, so you can cover your other eye if you can while you're balancing and breathing, and being Pete, the one-legged eye-patched pirate pigeon. Oh my gosh. And release. Come on down again, and let's try and be pigeon as though we were Pete this time. Instead of starting pigeon pose from tabletop, we're going to start pigeon pose from downward dog this time. So breathe up into downward dog. And this is my first downward dog of the day, so you might need to stretch into it like I do. Really make sure that you are breathing. Coming up onto your toes a few times. And nod your head yes, and shake your head no. And see if you can, there goes my hat. See if you can lower your heart a little bit closer towards your legs. So breathe one leg up and lift. This time you're going to bring your leg forward into pigeon on this side. Pete the pigeon. Breathing here. So Pete the pigeon moved in next to Polly the pigeon, and she wasn't very thrilled to have a neighbor, to be honest. And he wasn't very thrilled to be a neighbor either. But he was kind of grumpy, to tell you the truth. Breathe both legs up again. And switch it over. Other leg comes up and bring it back. But he did something very different. First thing he did when he moved into the top of that apartment building, he didn't build an ordinary nest. He built a nest that had a plank. You guessed it, because he was a pirate. He'd spent his whole life sailing the 7 seas. He needed to have a plank to remind him of home. Let's come back into downward dog. Breathe it in here. Now in yoga, there's also a pose called plank pose. So we are going to turn our bodies into a plank. Hands to the front of your mat, spread your fingers wide, nice and strong from tabletop. Take a deep breath in. Then one leg at a time, come into the plank. So there is the plank of Pete the pigeon. Now, the best thing about this plank is that every day Pete the pigeon would walk the plank, walk it up with me, and then he would come to the edge of the plank and he would fly off the apartment building, woo, and look down at all the amazing things below. Breathe your feet together, hands to your heart, and release. Try the other leg. Woo. There goes Pete the pigeon, flying above the city, looking down at all of the cars and the people below. Breathe your feet together. Now, Polly the pigeon saw this, and she thought it looked pretty cool, but she just kept to herself until one day she decided to be a friendly neighbor, and she invited Pete over for tea. come back into your tabletop position. Make your back very flat. So imagine your back is the table that Polly and Pete are going to have tea off of. So your back is nice and flat. And see if you can stay this flat and be a hovering table just like we were before. Don't forget to breathe. So they had tea, as you're hovering, they had tea at this table and were getting along really, really well. In fact, you can release your knees. Pete enjoyed Polly's company so much that he even invited her over to walk the plank. So guess what they did? Come into pigeon pose. From your tabletop, come back to pigeon. All on one leg, breathe in. Then go to plank pose as you breathe out. And then breathe in one leg, back the other side. And then to plank pose as you breathe out. So they had fun walking the plank, but remember, the best part about walking the plank is flying at the end. So take a deep breath in, walk your feet all the way to the edge of the plank, spread your wings, breathe in, and find your leg up and balance and fly. Breathe your hands and back to your heart, and then breathe out for the last time. Spread your wings and fly. And breathe your hands and your feet back together. Come back to the center of your yoga mat. Breathe your arms up. Wiggle your fingers at the top and breathe your hands all the way back to your heart. Pete and Polly became the best of friends. Every day they would join together to have tea, to walk the plank, and they would share tips about how to build the best nest in the city. Neither of them knew that having a neighbor could be so much fun, but it was. I hope that you enjoyed today's yoga story about pigeons that become friends. Let's close our yoga story today by giving ourselves a great big hug. Breathe in and squeeze your arms around yourself. Squeeze and rub and tap. Congratulate yourself for doing another yoga story with me and shake it out. And I hope you have a really great day, and I look forward to seeing you for another yoga story really soon. Check out other yoga stories on our YouTube channel, and don't forget to subscribe and to share with a friend who also might like to play yoga stories with us. Namaste. See you soon.